The United States of America is the greatest country in the world.
The United States of America is still the greatest country in the world.
I just want to tell you that America is the greatest place on earth.
The United States of America is the most powerful nation on earth.
So why are more and more people leaving it for Mexico, a country that is often seen as dangerous and less developed? Do they hate America? Is Mexico abducting them? Or are there reasons hiding beneath the surface? Well, stick around, because you'll be getting all of these answers to these questions and more in today's video, the top 5 reasons Americans are moving to Mexico. But make sure to stick around until the end, because what I found is that each of these reasons all stem from the same exact thing, and you won't believe what it is. Let's get started. Reason 1, America's high cost of living. The first reason Americans are moving to Mexico is due to the cost of living in the United States. And although the cost of living has been steadily rising over the past few decades, with the average home price jumping from $189,500 in 1972 to $440,300 in 2022, it was the second half of 2021 that changed everything. United States inflation went from 1.23% in 2020 to 4.70% in 2021 and 8% in 2022. This rise in inflation is largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, alongside several government stimulation measures aimed at bolstering the economy. Most notably, entry-level job wages rose by 10%, and top-level executive positions saw wages grow by an astounding 30% as businesses grappled with labor shortages. The consequences of the pandemic, wage increases, and stimulus checks had a profound impact on the cost of living in the United States. Housing, healthcare, and education expenses all surged, contributing to the increasing financial burden on American households. Housing costs in particular have seen significant spikes over the past decade, with median housing prices rising from $230,000 in 2020 to $330,000 in 2023. The rise in healthcare and education costs has also placed additional strain on Americans' budgets, making it increasingly difficult for individuals and families to maintain their preferred standard of living. As a result of these rising expenses, many Americans began to turn their attention to Mexico as an attractive alternative. In 2021, there were an estimated 15,000 Americans living in Mexico. By the end of 2022, that number grew by 22% to approximately 18,000 Americans living in the United States, the highest it has been since 2023. Unsurprisingly, experts predict that this number will continue to rise. However, rising costs aren't the only reasons Americans are peeking their heads over the fence. The rise of remote work has also had a significant impact on this decision. Reason 2, rise in remote work. Although the COVID-19 pandemic brought about various negative consequences, one positive outcome was the rise of remote work opportunities. As a result, many American workers are no longer tied to their cubicle prisons and are free to work from home, and in some cases even work from different countries. This newfound freedom, along with Mexico's push for digital nomad visas, has made it an attractive destination for remote workers. Additionally, Mexico's close proximity to the United States, affordable cost of living, and favorable climate make it an enticing option for relocation, especially for someone who can capitalize on the wages of a more developed country while living in a less developed one. But don't just take my word for it. Evidence from migration reports reveals a substantial uptick in Americans securing permits to live temporarily in Mexico, with an 85% increase in Americans seeking permits to live in Mexico from 2021 to 2022. And why wouldn't they? Mexico was labeled the best country in the world for expats in 2022 by Internations, a reputable online community for digital nomads and remote workers looking to migrate. But why is Mexico so highly regarded? Well, among many things, the biggest draw is the low cost of living and high quality of life. Reason 3, Mexico's low cost of living. Look, I love money and you love money, so let's not beat around the bush. Coupled with the high cost of living in the United States and the rise of remote work, the real reason people are moving to Mexico is simple. It's a lot cheaper to live there. To put it into a number, Mexico's cost of living is 60% lower than in the USA, according to internationalcitizens.com. And even if we look a little deeper and compare the two largest cities of both countries, New York and Mexico City, Mexico is a whopping 70% cheaper. Do I have your attention? Good, because it only gets better from here. The average one-bedroom house in the United States will cost around $1,350 to $1,670 per month, while the average one-bedroom apartment in Mexico will cost you between $280 and $459 a month. And when it comes to eating, which we all might love even more than money, a standard meal for two in the USA will cost you $65, while in Mexico, it will cost around $32.50. And if you feel a thirst for a nice beer on the side of your dinner. That would cost you $2.65 in the USA and only $1.25 in Mexico. But what if I told you that alongside being a whole lot cheaper, Mexico also offers a much higher quality of life than the United States? Let me explain. Reason 4, higher quality of life. Firstly, Mexico offers a much better climate for Americans looking to move there. On average, Mexico has 20% fewer rainy days and around 5% more sunny hours when compared to the entire country. But it isn't all about the sun. Mexico also offers a variety of different climate options. If they prefer a temperate climate that isn't too hot or cold, they can opt for the charming mountain cities of Huasca de Ocampo. If they crave sunshine and beaches, Cancun is the perfect choice. And if they're seeking the hustle and bustle of a metropolis, Mexico City is the way to go. Americans relocating to Mexico also enjoy more affordable healthcare without sacrificing quality. Routine medical care, specialist services, and medications come at a lower cost in Mexico compared to the United States. When comparing living in Mexico to the USA, you're also 25% less likely to be obese, 11% more likely to find employment, and will pay 13% fewer taxes. While these differences may seem marginal on an individual scale, when compounded over a lifetime, the overall quality of life in Mexico proves to be much, much higher. But once again, don't just take my word for it. There are tons of articles and testimonials online from Americans who have made the move to Mexico, highlighting the affordability and quality of the food, lower home ownership costs, and a sense of safety and security. Contrary to what you might think, drug cartels typically don't target foreign residents or tourists. Reason 5, cultural appeal. And now, for the final reason on this list, the overall cultural appeal of Mexico is much higher right now. Now don't get me wrong, America is an incredible country with a lot going for it, but the rise of individualism, political polarization, and the focus on consumerism and hustle culture is starting to drive many of its citizens away. Compare that to Mexico's relaxed way of life and its strong emphasis on family and community, and it's easy to see why many Americans prefer to move to Mexico. In fact, Mexican people are regarded as some of the happiest people in the world, as highlighted by studies conducted by the organization Blue Zones. Why? Well, it's a mix of strong social bonds that come from large amounts of talking, laughing, joking, and taking care of their loved ones. They eat their meals together instead of in their rooms, and they always include their grandparents in whatever they are doing. And for the youngsters, you will often find them socializing with friends, and there is always an excuse to kick back and watch soccer over a BBQ. But the culture goes further than just its way of life and emphasis on family. Mexican culture is also home to some of the most delicious food in the world. Let's just say that there's a reason Taco Bell and Chipotle are so popular in the USA. Mexican food just hits the spot no matter the occasion. And so, while Americans have a large number of reasons for relocating to Mexico, their decision can be broken down to one thing: the desire for a better life that is free from stress, financial burden, and unhealthy lifestyles. Something that America right now isn't providing. Subscribe for more.